The impact of mobile on the consumer digital photography industry, that's obviously enormously important. It has enormously eroded the entry-level compact market. Some manufacturers have just said outright, we're not making compacts in that segment anymore because of the smartphone. So I'm just going to open that up. I mean, what impact has mobile made on? Actually, let's talk to John first.
Yeah, and it's had a huge impact. There's no denying that. The positive is that people are taking more pictures than ever before.
Yeah,
way more pictures than ever before. But they're not doing it with a compact camera. They're doing it with their phones. They're doing it with other cameras. So I think it's a matter of educating consumers where, yes, your mobile phone takes a picture, and you can do a lot of things with those pictures. But when you get to some more advanced techniques like frame rates or depth of field and some of those things you can't have or do with a mobile phone, that's where the opportunity lies. And really educating the consumer on, this is what a DSLR is for, a mirrorless is for, and what it can offer. The other opportunities are, something like a waterproof camera. That's hard to do in a mobile phone or a smartphone. Right. High-end compacts, things like that with a large sensor where you're getting better dynamic range, better depth of field, all those things. So there's certainly a place for both types of imaging devices. It's a matter of educating, this is good for day-to-day stuff, but this is what you want, something here on this table if you want a good quality picture that you can share and print and really get out there.
So that's one perspective, and how the two things are very distinct.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly looking at Samsung, it seems like you're trying to shove them together with increasing force.
Yeah, we definitely see a convergence and are driving it with our technology. The position we took, even with our point-and-shoot cameras, is like more than a year ago, was to put Wi-Fi in pretty much everything, and not Wi-Fi just to send emails, but we want our cameras to be interoperable with the smartphone everybody has. We want your camera, if you buy one, to be your smartphone's best friend, and have them work together. Because when people are shooting today, I think we understand, particularly not casual shooters. Everybody, basically, the goal isn't to shoot and shoebox your photos, it's shoot and share. One way or another, your images are going to go out, whether it's to Facebook or Instagram or wherever. You want to share, you want to show everybody the images you're making. And making your cameras interoperable with your lifestyle smart devices is a key element for us. As well, combining the experiences, rolling touch screens in, rolling open OSs in, like Android OS, into our Galaxy line of cameras. Lets people have a similar experience to what they have on their phone. But it also gives them the capability to continuously and completely upgrade their device. If you have an open OS camera and you want an intervalometer, you download an intervalometer. And if you don't like that intervalometer, you go get another one. If you want an editing program, you download whatever editing program you want on your camera. And it gives you the opportunity to completely customize the device to how you want to shoot. And personally, I believe that's the clear and unstoppable direction of camera architectures. And so we're investing heavily in that, as you can see from our lineup.
When talking about investing, that comes at a cost, though.
Sure.
You're putting enormously powerful processors, very big screens into these things.
Sure. But in a large part of the consumer base, we believe that's what they want. And I think we learned a lot this year in a positive way. The Galaxy camera we came out with that has a huge screen, and zoom was expensive, and a lot of people in the market weren't sure who was going to buy it. That camera's just blown past everyone's expectations in terms of sales, and it's a good camera. But the reason people bought it wasn't because of the zoom factor and the BSI sensor and all that stuff. It was the experience. They loved the big screen on the back. They loved the ability to add apps, and it was a resounding success in the market. And we believe that's now a clear direction we can continue to invest in and have success with.
I think it's also important to accept that we had a bubble, like a 10-year bubble, Before digital, everyone had a camera in their house, and then digital came along, and everyone got a digital camera because then you could see the pictures on the back. And now everyone's got a digital camera, and there is just a huge part of the general public who doesn't need anything more than what they've got with their phone, and their next phone will be better. I think I read last night that this year they're expecting to sell 1 billion smartphones. And how many cameras? 50 million, something like that? I think it's
one
about...
for every 7 people in the world.
Yeah. So, you know, this is a very, very different market. All our industry has to do is to make sure that when people do get the bug, when they do get interested, that we offer them a seamless transition to a camera, to some kind of fluid or frictionless experience, because right now it isn't, you know, even unless you're actually using a camera with built-in Android. And so, yeah, I mean, we had a boom. We had 10 years of growth. It's not ever going to come back. You will never persuade someone who is happy with their phone that they need to buy a proper camera because they're happy with their phone. They maybe shouldn't be. And they would certainly get better pictures if they bought a camera, but it's not, that's not the opportunity. The opportunity isn't the billion people this year who bought a smartphone. It's that tiny slice of them that want to take their photography further. And here we have some first steps towards making that. But until I can pick up this camera and press a button that sends it to Facebook, then...
You want the Canon PowerShot Ready Facebook end.
I do.
That's what you want.
To take a picture of the screen on the back
The whole
of my
thing is a
hip.
shutter button.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's really important is, you know, Samsung's put it in, it's finding a way to make it work seamlessly. Whether it's 2 different devices, whether it's transferring the images. As far as the customer's concerned, they don't want to have to go through a bunch of steps. They just want it to work. And that's where I think the industry is looking is how do you make that seamlessly just work? So it's easy because you look at younger generation, my young son is playing with our waterproof camera and said, now I'm going to send it to mom and dad, and started pushing the back of the camera like, that's the future, that's where it's going. We have to plan for that.
I think it's also important to call out that the cameras in smart devices will continue to get better just
Absolutely.
as they have. So it's important as camera manufacturers for us, and it's a goal, I think, for all of us, to continue to innovate in our cameras and improve where we can. Whether it's, you know, style, which there's been huge changes in style, the retro movement, and whether it's in faster lenses, better lenses, more features in the cameras. We have to continue, if we want to keep camera-looking things existing and selling them, that we have to continue to innovate on the vectors of image quality, performance, style, features, all that stuff as well.
Excellent. Well, I think we're ready to introduce
Absolutely.
our next guest. Hi Ziv.
Yes.
How are you?
Hey, Ziv.
So Ziv, do you want to just quickly introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm the co-founder of iFi. We're 4 founders, and we started a few years ago to try to change the imaging world and make it more fun.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us. So Ziv, you're the founder of iFi. You saw this coming quite early. Why is connectivity so important?
So we share virtually. People want to share in the instant. We tried to make that a point 7 years ago. That was before Facebook and mobile actually were hot. So back then we wanted to share to a computer and just share with our close friends and family. Today we share mobile and we share in the instant. And so that finally is the right time to talk about mobile, how cameras and mobile interact.
So to the panel, how do you, this urge to share, you know, which is driving the industry at the moment, certainly driving the adoption of smartphones, how do you incorporate that into your products? I know, Jay, Samsung's got its way, but John, what's your perspective on that?
We've actually partnered with iFi to optimize how their cards work in our cameras. Right. So it's been a great partnership, and it has allowed us to kind of bridge that gap. And I think it's a good step forward.
Interesting. So one of the things which is one of the innovations over the past couple of years in smartphone imaging has been the Nokia PureView system. It's a very serious camera. It works in a different way to normal. It allows you to zoom without actually having physical elements. And do you think that's a dead end, or do you think that's the shape of things to come, Jay?
I think it's a path. The types of technology that are being implemented in terms of using a lot of pixels and giving people flexibility have been around for a long time, whether it's pixel binning or digital cropping. So it's a path there. I think from a camera perspective, personally, that optical zoom is probably a lot more efficient path to image quality. But again, that comes at a cost in terms of having a lens, which again, people looking for cameras like. So, yeah.
But they're very, like the people who make phones, they're constrained by the need to fit everything into a black rectangle that's like 4 mil thick. And so a lot of work is being done to try and make phone cameras, like take a great leap forward. The Nokia, as you say, is one path, but there are other paths. There are ways of combining more than one sensor. You can have an array of 16 or 24 sensors or whatever you want to have. And you know, when you have parity in pretty much everything else, the screen's the same size, the operating system's the same, they're always looking for the thing that they're going to use as a differentiator. And right now they're using cameras, and I'm sure they'll continue to. There is undoubtedly zoom lenses coming, there is flash coming, and those are the two things that currently stop us from worrying that much about phones as camera killers. But it's that's at the point at which the market splits, and you have those who have a phone and they buy the latest phone because it has a better camera, and then you have photo enthusiasts, which is actually a growing market and is to a certain extent driven by this, however many, I think it's 400 billion pictures a year that are shared via Facebook and Instagram. That gets people interested in photography. So at that point, these guys can concentrate on making their cameras better, and everyone else will use their phone, no doubt.
So I guess actually I wanted to ask Ziv a question. The whole point of iFi is to use your proper camera and then give it connectivity options using the card. I mean, what are the advantages of that approach from your perspective these days?
Yeah, absolutely. So we believe that you should be able to use the camera that you already own, or if you buy a camera, buy it based on the features, the price, the size, sometimes the brand. But don't buy it because it has Wi-Fi or doesn't. Buy it for the features that you actually care about, and then add the Wi-Fi card to that to connect it to your mobile device. So the idea is to keep shooting with the camera, take amazing quality images. Again, if you're an enthusiast, you can buy a DSLR or a mirrorless or a point and shoot. The higher end point and shoots from OEMs today are phenomenal. So use them when the events are important to you, and share through your mobile phone with the iFi card, and share in the instant at the same time through Facebook, Instagram, or your preference of social sharing.
Thank you. So I mean, I think the phones are here to stay. You know, let's just nail it down. Like, are they the enemy at this point, as a camera manufacturers and camera reviewers? You know, should we regard them as the enemy, or are they? Do we have to try and get them in the tent somehow?
I can't view them as the enemy.
You make phones as well as cameras.
But I think, you know, if you have a phone with a 10x zoom on it, do you call it a camera or a phone? That's something we're struggling with now. Yeah. Our S4 zoom product shipping in the US, and it's an S4 with a zoom lens on it. We're calling it a phone because it has a carrier contract, it's carrier based, you can use it as a phone, but it's definitely got a big lens on it. I can make calls on this. In fact, I do. I use Skype on this frequently. Is it a camera or a phone? Well, it's obviously a camera, but it's a camera that's LTE enabled. Yeah. But somewhere in between, that line's going to continue to blur, and the cameras and phones will just become lifestyle devices eventually. I mean, maybe cool retro lifestyle devices.
Yeah, they're certainly the enemy of low-end point-and-shoot cameras. Yeah. They've already killed them. I mean, it's probably 40% down year-on-year sales of compacts. But you know, the nice thing about them is that they're going to make these kind of cameras considerably more interesting. Mm-hmm. Long term, you know, I'll be able to take, if I choose to use a camera with a fast lens and a reflex finder or whatever it is I choose, I'll be able to immediately share it on Facebook, which will give me the validation I need for my photography.
I like that.
I'm going to have some beautiful pictures of my food.
And I don't see them as enemies because, you know, smartphones are here. as I mentioned before, people are taking more and more pictures. That's good for the entire industry.
Right.
It's how do you make your camera and your smartphone the best of friends and work together and get your pictures out there to share with other people.
How important, I mean, battery life is the one thing that always takes a real nosedive as soon as you try and turn anything on, whether it be Wi-Fi, GPS, or even movie mode, live view mode. I mean, is battery technology keeping up with what you're putting into
It's definitely improving.
cameras?
And there was a huge jump from NiCad to lithium ion. The lithium ion technologies are improving year over year, not arithmetically, but in percentages. In the same space, for our NX 1000 battery was a 1,000 milliamp battery. We added another 100 milliamps to it this year. The designs are getting better, the processes are getting better, so they're improving incrementally in lithium ion. I don't see a new technology coming in the next 2 or 3 years to replace it. But the other piece is people are making bigger batteries. This is a 4,300 milliamp lithium ion battery in this camera. 4,300 milliamp, that's incredible. I mean, I don't think anyone would have, sorry?
It takes a week to charge, though. Doesn't it?
It takes a little while to charge, but you can watch as many movies or play as many games of Angry Birds on it as you want.
Actually run a Tesla on it, I believe.
Tesla.
So, Ziv, just quickly, from your perspective, looking at the competition, I mean, iFi didn't really have any competition for a long time, but now people are building wireless into cameras, and they're doing a pretty good job of it these days. I mean, from your perspective, what do they still need to do to provide a really trouble-free connectivity experience?
Yeah, so the nice thing to see is that more and more cameras have Wi-Fi built in, which actually does help the awareness of Wi-Fi connectivity, so that's totally great. We actually had Wi-Fi in cameras before we started the company. Kodak had the EasyShare 1, Canon had a few models, Coolpix from Nikon. There was always Wi-Fi there. Now the Wi-Fi is becoming more prevalent, but what I'm seeing is that it's still not totally automatic, it's not seamless. You can't just point and click and everything happens for you. Whereas in our approach, we want you to just take pictures, focus on the camera, and focus on having fun with the camera, and have everything happen for you totally in the background. So your Android phone can be in your pocket, it can be just sitting there dormant with a screen off, and as you take pictures of your kids, everything's transferring to the phone. Same with the iPhone. So the idea is to have it completely seamless, totally automatic, and I think that helps the consumer.
Okay, thank you. Do you think we'll, no, you're not going to get time to have a quick Q&A with Ziv. So, Ziv, thank you very much. You're going to stay on the line. We're going to move on. So we're not going to lose you for now, but we're going to move on a little bit now and talk about the future.
All right, I think this is the big thing that everybody has been waiting to hear about. We talked about the product reviews for 2013, but let's talk about future trends. How do we want to start?
Well, I guess we've gone through mobile, so I suppose let's look at 5 years out. Mobile's here to stay. It's a companion, not the enemy to these products. What does the next 5 years look like, John?
Well, it's something interesting right now that Rico's doing is an immersive camera. It gives you a 360-degree spherical. It's building upon something like that.
And that's the theta, isn't it?
Yes, the
Rico theta.
Where it truly is an immersive experience. It's not just catching what's in front of you. It's to the side, behind, up, below, and it's a really cool technology, and we'll obviously continue to expand on that. And the possibilities are very interesting. How do you capture everything that's around you? You basically just hold it up and press the shutter release, and it captures everything around you and wirelessly transfers it to your phone to share. So
you can create
things like that.
Yeah, it allows you to create a virtual, stop me if I'm wrong, but like a sort of three-dimensional pan and tilt around a space, right?
Yes, yeah, it captures everything in that space. The only small artifact you'll see is where the camera is itself. So expanding on technology like that puts you into the environment instead of just what's in front of you. It's everything around you.
Wow.
So Jay, what kind of cameras am I going to be reviewing in 5 years' time?
Really cool one.
Excellent news.
No, awesome news. Awesome. You've touched on so many of the trends that are, I think, will be important going forward. 4K video with still streams. I think OpenOS is, obviously connectivity is already here, but all these things will continue to incrementally improve the devices, and I firmly believe there'll be less camera-like and more deep integrated lifestyle devices, and infinitely customizable because of what's happening with the OS platforms. I'm incredibly excited about the opportunities just with processing power in these. If you give access to the processing power that's in these cameras with open OSs to customers, to the market, they're going to take these in all kinds of crazy new interesting directions. These cameras have, I mean, this one's an S4 plus our DRIM processor. It's got more processing power in it, I think you said, than laptops from 2 years ago. And it does. And once the photographers get these capabilities in their hands and can control them, manage them, turn them into whatever they want, these devices are just going to be amazing.
So one thing we haven't really talked about, Mark touched on it when he talked about the data rate of video and you know, some of the knock-on effects of a lot of these features, is storage and media. I mean, presumably, people are using the cloud now to store their photographs. They're not printing them out and putting them in photo albums anymore.
Sure.
And what does that mean for the industry?
I think the internal data rates inside the cameras are, well, any issues that people see there will be solved just like they were for HD video and high frame rates and all that. To your point on cloud, the cloud storage is rolling ubiquitously ahead on every other device we've got, from our TVs, our computers, everything else. It's a function in most of the cameras I'm using today, and not necessarily just locked in. The utilization of gateway servers by manufacturers mean that I can use not just big name cloud storage on these cameras today, I can use Bob's cloud storage and route it through here, any cloud storage.
I haven't heard of that.
Bob's cloud storage.
.com.
And it doesn't have to be programmed in by the manufacturer. You know, you put your password on it, goes through a gateway server, and you're done. So not only can your camera talk to a big name cloud storage service, it can talk to your home cloud or your home server, or whatever that evolves into, and not be limited by what I see or don't see coming. But I definitely think that's probably the biggest change in how people store images, video, any content coming from these cameras.
I mean, how do we feel about that? Simon, you and I talk about this a lot. People not printing anymore. And
printing was a funny one. I mean, the photo industry was taken by surprise by the smartphone, which I still find somewhat amusing. But they were also taken by surprise by the fact that they discovered that once they didn't have to, no one printed anymore. Because they used to have to print. They had no choice. They couldn't see the pictures. And I think that what's interesting about the cloud from a camera point of view is partly it's the potential to offload some of this heavy lifting, like server-side processing. Right now, we don't really have the infrastructure and bandwidth within, even with 4G LTE and stuff like that, to do a lot of this work. But I'd love to be able to send my raw files away and then do most of the work on the cloud. Until these cameras can talk to the cloud like that camera can talk to the cloud, then there's a limit to what one can expect. But it's just customer expectations. I mean, once you've used an iPhone or a Galaxy, I expect my camera to work in the same way, and I would certainly expect to be able to immediately put things up to the cloud. I don't think that in this part of the market, if you want to ask me what the next 5 years are, I don't think this is going to change a ton. I think the SLRs or mirrorless, they will get better. If consumer demand is there, they will get Android and things like that. But I actually think phones will be where most of the innovation happens, because they're forced to innovate continuously because of the form factor and because the infrastructural stuff like the speed of connectivity and the fact they don't have that much storage on board and they have battery life issues. And then we'll see that feed back into the real cameras. But I don't expect in 5 years, they might be shooting 4K video and we might be pulling stills out of them. But I fully expect to be seeing the D400, for example, within the next 5 years.
Within the next 5 years,
yeah. Don't quote me.
Put money on that.
No.
Yeah, the 8D, anything else 8D. So you've got a family. I'm going to ask you a question now. Do you print anything anymore?
I don't have a family. I do have nieces and nephews.
Okay.
However, do I print anything anymore? If I'm printing, it is more little art pieces to put up on the wall.
Right.
But
not photo albums. And
not photo albums. If I'm printing anything, it is more like a photo book. or something, not individual pictures that I'm putting into frames, or even the big photo albums, obviously, that you used to do when you came back from traveling. So from a consumer standpoint, it actually kind of saddens me that all of these images are going who knows where, not just for myself, but for families, for years to come. It worries me.
You have people now who will be parents in a few years who are using Snapchat, which is basically just, how long is it?
Hello,
10
goodbye.
seconds? Hello, goodbye. There are more pictures shared by Snapchat than by Facebook now, which is a deeply, deeply depressing statistic.
More images shared by
daily.
Snapchat.
Yep.
Wow. And they're gone in whatever it is, 20 seconds.
What's the age range of those?
I'm guessing right now it's fairly young. People are using it for like a messaging service.
Right.
It's more like a wave than a picture, but it's the ephemeral nature of photographs obviously doesn't worry the latest generation of shooters. But yeah, I mean, this part of the market, the enthusiast side of the market, will grow. There's no doubt. Eventually, people will get sick of taking great pictures and sending them and having them disappear again. But I want to share them with someone.
You can add Snapchat to this camera.
Great, great. Actually, most of my pictures is probably a good idea.
Well, and, the output side of it is, I think there's still opportunity there because as an enthusiast myself, I love printing out a picture, hanging it on my wall, or creating a book and sharing it with a family member. Especially for a special moment or a special photo. And at the same time, the cloud wallet it's kind of scary because, like, what if something happens? What if my pictures aren't there anymore? It's here. People are using it with their smartphones and they're using it with their other devices. So it's, building that confidence that, yeah, it's going to work. And I can pull a picture down and I can print it out and I can have that object, not just something on a screen.
Yeah, there's no doubt that as well that workflow, which is not a word that consumers would use, but the idea of my camera being able to decide, or me being able to categorize pictures according to those which are going to go to family and those which are going to go into storage, and there's demand. I mean, we've spoken to a lot of companies recently who are trying to organize people's digital lives. You've got 100,000 pictures and you haven't deleted them all, then it's nice to be able to actually find the picture you were looking for based on whether it's someone's face or the event. Yeah. And right now, the cameras in that respect are dumb. I mean, the Android and iOS will give you access to far more powerful tools. But yeah, I mean, sharing these days is mostly screen-based. I can put pictures in one folder that my mom can look at in England. And it's all a bit fragmented, and it's all a bit, you have to know what you're doing for the most part. So I think that we'll see changes there. What about technology-wise? I mean, the only significant changes in technology that we're seeing is like ISO-less cameras is one.
Let's ask this actually. We've got one more question before we have to wrap up. We can try and ask everyone and keep it quite short. But what is the next big thing? I mean, it was mirrors, then it was autofocus, then it was digital. What's the next big thing?
We got Ziv here too.
Still got Ziv on the line. So actually, I'll ask this question of you first, Ziv. What's the next big paradigm shift? And keep it really concise.
Okay, so the next big thing, I think, could be services. So having consumers do more with the images and have the work be done for them so that they can spend less time thinking about what to do, but actually have everything completely be automatic so they can actually enjoy the images, have it either via print, via anything else that is via photo gifting or online.
All right, thank you. Jay?
I'm going to be trite and say apps. There's so many apps out there for phones now and mobile devices, but they don't really support the activities of serious photographers and enthusiasts. There's a huge opportunity for RAW, and there's a lot of work being done in RAW and apps with better camera controls. I see all that effort exploding in the next 8 to 14 months. And really serious work being done for apps to support the high-end photographers.
Simon?
I think we're all kind of singing the same tune here. There's no doubt that really smart cameras is going to be the next big thing. And I think that just putting all that processing power into a camera as well will allow, you talk about RAW, I mean, there are cameras whose sensors now basically you don't need to set the ISO. You shoot at any setting and then just use the raw file to, and there's no hit. You don't get extra noise if you shoot underexposed. But that needs a lot more processing power in the camera. So I think, yeah, your processing power, apps, and sharing, like lifestyle stuff, will be big no matter what class of camera you're looking at.
John?
I think it's putting all those together, and it's intelligence, whether it's in the camera or in the image itself. So you know when it was taken, where it was taken, who's in that picture, what the weather was like, what the score of the game was that you were shooting the picture at. I think there's a great opportunity there to get more out of the picture, because a picture is telling a story, but how far can you expand that story? What can you add to that story? Say, it's the 5th inning of the game and it was beautiful weather. What you don't know is 5 minutes later it started hailing and they stopped the game. Adding that kind of intelligence to, and my best friend was there, and he just got engaged the day before. Whatever it is, but it's adding that intelligence to the picture.
Making it very holistic.
Yeah, and that's part processing, that's part the cloud, that's part sharing. It kind of wraps it all together.
Well, for me, as here on Creative Live, I just want to say in terms of what I'm hearing a lot of people saying here is about education and people, the consumer out there not necessarily knowing how to use these things, what these new technologies are, and what I'm really excited about is what we're doing here in terms of photography education and really laying the field where people have access to events like today, with the editors of DP Review being able to talk directly to you guys. So I'm excited to see the future of this partnership as well.
Yes,
Yep,
me too.
so are we.
My big prediction for the future
yes.
is 4K and video still convergence, probably in the professional space, in the professional media, still media. Because if you can shoot 68 million pixel frames a second shooting 4K video as a photojournalist, I think at that point you don't need a dedicated stills camera anymore. And I think that will actually bring up a lot of really interesting questions which will filter down into the consumer space, and we'll see convergence happening in a much more interesting way. HD video, the stills are 2 megapixels, that's not good enough, but 6 to 8, that is good enough. So I think that might actually really change the way we think about still and video in the next 5 years.
That would definitely change the way we think about it, because I think especially what we see here at Creative Live is just that video is still, especially at the consumer level, is still a big unknown.
Yeah, it's
so
a huge learning curve.
So if you switch it
for
around
photographers, yeah.
to where kids are taking videos with their little guy, whatever it is, and then picking out their favorite stills from that, that's a total paradigm shift.
And where the professional photographers go, the enthusiasts follow. So.
Exactly.